What's up, Eagles Nation? Man, things are really starting to get interesting in Philadelphia. After 21 long years, the Birds are once again right in the middle of a championship chase, and you can just feel the energy building. When you take a look across the NFC, it's crazy to see how tight everything is. The Eagles are currently tied with Tampa Bay for second place and just behind the one-loss Green Bay Packers, who have been flying high so far. And speaking of the Packers, that's the team the Eagles will face right after their bye week. So even if Green Bay wins this upcoming weekend, Philly still controls its own destiny. Beat them coming off the bye, and boom, they jump into that top spot. It's still early in the season, but this is when great teams start separating themselves from the rest of the pack. This bye week couldn't have come at a better time for the Birds. They've been grinding week after week, battling through injuries, close games, and all kinds of ups and downs. Now, they finally get a chance to rest, reset, and do some honest self-evaluation. Figure out what's working, what's not, and how to keep pushing forward. Coach Nick Sirianni talked about this on Monday, emphasizing how critical it is for the team to stay locked in and use this time wisely. He's all about identifying issues, strengthening what's already working, and keeping the team mentally sharp for the second half of the season. He said it's a time for players to step away just enough to recover physically, but also stay mentally engaged, to take care of their bodies and be ready to roll when they're back. And if you've been following this team for the past couple of years, you know how big bye weeks have been for the Eagles. They've never lost coming out of one since Sirianni took over, and last season, that early bye week was the turning point that set them up for a Super Bowl run. This time around feels a little different, though. In the past, the bye was about fixing things, cleaning up mistakes, and figuring out their identity. But this year, a lot of that heavy lifting has already been done. The offense is humming, the defense is finding its rhythm, and the locker room feels more confident than ever. Now it's about continuing to build on what's already going right, and the biggest example of that lately has been the run game. For weeks, the Eagles struggled to get anything consistent going on the ground. But then, against the Giants, something finally clicked. The offensive line was absolutely dominant, opening up massive lanes, and the Birds racked up an insane 277 yards rushing. That's the kind of performance that can completely shift a team's momentum heading into the back half of the season. A huge part of that turnaround came from the play calling. Kevin Patullo really found his groove, mixing things up, adding creativity, and keeping defenses guessing. The Birds used a ton of pin-and-pull concepts, toss cracks, and motion plays that made them far less predictable. You could see the difference immediately. Linemen pulling with purpose, tight ends sealing the edges, and backs hitting the holes with confidence. Analysts broke it down perfectly after the game, pointing out how much more physical Philly looked compared to the Giants. Every block, every pull, every combo had intensity. Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson were just mauling defenders. Fred Johnson, when lined up as a tight end, was collapsing entire sides of the field. It was vintage Eagles football, tough, mean, and relentless up front. And the results spoke for themselves. 2 running backs went over 100 yards, something we hadn't seen in ages. Saquon Barkley and rookie Tank Bigsby were unstoppable. Those pin-and-pull runs were a thing of beauty. Dickerson would pin down the defensive tackle, Toth would pull around, and suddenly you'd see Barkley or Bigsby streaking into the secondary before anyone could react. The rhythm of the offense was totally different. One play set up the next. The play action worked because the defense had to respect the run. Everything flowed together, and it felt like this was the version of the Eagles' offense we've been waiting to see all season. Sirianni said after the game that the team had been close for weeks, and it finally all came together. He mentioned how they'd been working toward finding that balance, running the ball effectively while complementing it with their passing game. And you could tell that confidence was growing. Patullo even said it himself. It was only a matter of time before it clicked. The offensive line executed beautifully, and the players bought into the plan. Now, with a week off, they can study what worked and double down on those strengths. You can tell the players know they're trending in the right direction. They understand that the season has its ups and downs, but they also know what they're capable of when everything's firing on all cylinders. This bye week isn't just about rest, it's about reloading. Speaking of that run game, we've got to talk about Tank Bigsby. What a breakout performance from the rookie. He didn't just run well, he exploded. Over 100 yards, averaging more than 11 yards per carry, and nearly 9 yards after contact. That's absurd. He forced 5 missed tackles on just 9 carries and posted the highest rushing grade of any running back in a single game this season. That's not just a good day, that's dominance. And what makes it even better is how seamlessly he's fit into this offense. He's powerful, explosive, and has great vision. You can see it in every rep. He hits the hole with purpose and keeps his legs moving through contact. The coaching staff has been raving about his energy and work ethic. Even in practice, they say you can feel that spark. And now, with Barkley needing breathers here and there, Bigsby gives them another dynamic weapon to rotate in without losing any punch. As for Barkley himself, there was that brief scare with the groin injury he picked up in the Giants game, which had fans holding their breath. He left in the 3rd quarter and didn't return, but after the game he said he was fine and wasn't worried about missing time. And now it's been confirmed that the injury isn't serious, which is huge. All signs point to him being ready to go after the bye week, which is massive for this offense. You pair a healthy Barkley with a surging Bigsby and an offensive line playing at this level, and that's a nightmare for opposing defenses. That combination of power and speed is something Philly hasn't had in years. The other major story, of course, is the return of some big-time playmakers after the bye. The most notable name is star receiver A.J. Brown. There's no official update on his hamstring timeline, but all signs suggest he'll be back for the Packers game, which would instantly make the Eagles' offense even more dangerous. But the situation around Brown has been a little noisy lately. There's been social media drama, vague posts, deleted tweets, all the things that make headlines but don't really matter once the games start. Some fans have been worried about tension between him and Jalen Hurts, but honestly, from what's been said publicly, it doesn't seem like anything serious. Sirianni even addressed it on the radio, saying things have been completely normal inside the building and that AJ has been great in all their interactions. And honestly, that's what matters. What we see in practice, in the locker room, and on the field tells a different story, a team that's focused, united, and hungry. I get it. Fans see the social media stuff and start reading between the lines, but sometimes it's just noise. Brown has always been passionate and outspoken, and that fire is part of what makes him such a great player. When he's back on the field catching passes from Hurts again, none of that other stuff will matter. Because when those two are in sync, this offense is practically unstoppable. And with the way the run game is developing, defenses are going to have an impossible choice. Stack the box to stop the run or risk getting torched through the air. The timing of this bye week really couldn't be better. It gives the offense time to heal and fine-tune, the defense a chance to regroup, and the whole team an opportunity to breathe. But once it's over, it's full steam ahead. The Packers are waiting, and the race for the top of the NFC is officially on. The Eagles know what's at stake, not just in the standings, but in setting the tone for the rest of the year. And if this last game against the Giants showed us anything, it's that this team is rediscovering its identity. Tough, physical, relentless. Philly football at its finest. On the defensive side, things are starting to come together too. The pass rush finally looked alive against the Giants, with constant pressure, better gap discipline, and that signature Eagles intensity up front. And now, they're about to get even stronger with the return of Nolan Smith, who's been sidelined for weeks with that triceps injury. Getting him back is huge. He was supposed to be their top edge rusher heading into the season, and you could really feel his absence when the defense struggled to finish plays. Now that the front line has started clicking again, dropping Nolan back into the mix could take this group from good to flat-out terrifying. And let's not forget about Brandon Graham. He's been itching to get back on the field and looks ready to finally make his debut after the bye. Having those two veterans return at the same time gives this defense a massive lift right when the schedule gets tough again. And while we're talking about defense, there's been a lot of buzz about whether the Eagles might make a move before the trade deadline. Every year, Howie Roseman keeps people guessing, and this year feels no different. Reports have been swirling about possible targets, and one name that's popped up recently is Giants pass rusher Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, would New York actually send him to Philly? Probably not. Divisional trades like that are rare. But you never know with Howie. Thibodeau has the tools to be special, speed, strength, and that relentless motor that fits perfectly with the Eagles' defensive mindset. Even if that move doesn't happen, you can bet that Philly's front office is exploring all options. Whether it's at edge rusher, cornerback, or somewhere else, It feels almost certain that the Eagles will pull off some kind of deal to strengthen the roster for the stretch run. At the end of the day, this team knows where it stands and what it's capable of. The bye week isn't just a break. It's an opportunity to sharpen up and come back even more dangerous. The offense finally looks balanced, the defense is getting healthier, and the locker room feels focused despite the outside noise. Every season has its drama, but what separates great teams from the rest is how they respond when things get loud. The Eagles have shown time and again that they thrive under pressure, that they find ways to grow stronger when others stumble. So as the countdown to that Packers matchup begins, there's a sense that something special is brewing in Philadelphia, that this team isn't just chasing wins, but chasing greatness. Of course, all eyes will be on whether Howie Roseman makes another one of his signature deadline moves. It feels like it's almost become a yearly tradition at this point. Just when fans start to think the roster is set, he pulls off something unexpected. And honestly, that's part of what makes this front office so dangerous. They're never satisfied. Maybe it's a cornerback to solidify the secondary. Maybe it's an extra pass rusher to add depth. Or maybe it's something completely out of left field. Either way, it wouldn't be surprising to see a fresh face or two in the locker room before the next game kicks off. But trades or no trades, the most encouraging thing right now is how unified this team feels. You can sense it in the way they talk about each other, the way they celebrate after big plays, even the way they handle tough questions from the media. The noise around A.J. Brown could have easily become a distraction, but it hasn't fractured the locker room. Instead, players have closed ranks and focused on football. That kind of culture doesn't just happen. It's built through leadership, trust, and shared purpose. And right now, the Eagles seem to have all three. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments, and let's talk birds. Whispers have been swirling across NFL circles, and it seems the Philadelphia Eagles may have just made a seismic move to shake up their defense. Sources hint that TREY Hendrickson, one of the league's most relentless pass rushers, has reportedly agreed to terms with the Eagles, sending ripples of excitement and speculation throughout the football world. While the team has yet to make an official announcement, insiders suggest that this signing could redefine the very identity of Philadelphia's defensive front. Hendrickson, known for his explosive speed off the edge and uncanny ability to disrupt quarterbacks, would instantly become the centerpiece of a defense that's been seeking a dominant force to close the gap against elite offenses. Eagles fans, still riding high from the team's recent successes, are buzzing with anticipation over what this addition could mean. Could this be the missing puzzle piece that finally turns Philadelphia's defense into a relentless, championship-caliber machine? The mere possibility is enough to set social media ablaze with debates, predictions, and highlight reel fantasies. The rumor mill suggests that the contract is structured to keep Hendrickson in Philadelphia for multiple seasons, a clear signal that the Eagles are aiming to build a long-term defensive dynasty. Analysts are already speculating about how his presence will affect the team's defensive schemes. Will he line up primarily as a traditional edge rusher, or could we see innovative formations designed to exploit his speed and versatility? The excitement is palpable, and the potential impact on the NFC East is impossible to ignore. Of course, until the ink is officially dry, all of this remains speculative, yet insiders close to the negotiations hint that both the player and the organization are eager to make this union official. If it happens, Eagles fans might soon witness a defensive dominance they haven't seen in years, a resurgence that could put Philadelphia back on the map as a formidable force in the NFL. For now, though, it's all whispers, hints, and the kind of electrifying speculation that keeps fans glued to their screens. One thing is certain. The mere idea of TREY Hendrickson in midnight green is enough to get tongues wagging and imaginations running wild. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.